Welcome to Game 3 of the series. Paul took Game 1, Luvnest took Game 2, and it was, from what we saw, pretty brutal for Paul. Let's see what happens here in Game 3. We've got the same... I actually honestly don't even know who had faction selection. I guess if I had to guess, I would think it was Luvnest, because the matchup is the same as it was last game. So... let's see what happens. Luvnest going with the exact same loadout, exact same faction, exact same bases. Everything is the same. Let's see if the game turns out the same. I'm wondering if Paul is going to change up his strategy a little bit to try to get a better outcome than what happened last time. Luvnest moving to crush some of the cover here. And conscripts are firing on the SWS, which is taking the light damage, moving away now. Combat engineers over here throwing some wire to deny cover. Conscripts will disengage and move to capture the center victory point. Now that Stern Pioneers have arrived to support, SWS is moving to re-engage the conscripts here with Stern Pioneers. Not... oh, they did make it to the house, barely. Wasn't sure what was going to happen there. Volksgrenadiers taking the fuel in the south.
Grenadier, ready for action.
Conscripts engaging here in the center. Stern Pioneers have taken a position in the church. These conscripts are going to stand by this wall, apparently. Paul massing conscripts mostly in the center, which is kind of dangerous because it leaves them sort of vulnerable to being all pushed at the same time by one SWS. Then again, it's coming dangerously close to being destroyed. I'm not actually sure it's going to get away here. Oh no, run little child. Oh, there it goes. It just got sniped by the conscripts. That is not good. That is a huge turn of events for Luvnest. It's already going very differently than last game did, that's for sure. He was just a little too aggressive with that truck, and now he's been punished. His next one's not going to arrive until well after 5 minutes into the game, which means no Panzer Shreks, no grenades, and that could potentially leave him quite vulnerable to M3s if Paul decides to go tier 1 now. There's not going to be a flak half track for a while. He has a lot of time to play and work with and capitalize on this advantage here, but he's probably also going to be given Luvnest a little bit of free fuel if he goes to salvage that suit, so it's a double-edged sword. As far as the actual engagement is going, it looks like Paul's going to pull ahead. He's gotten himself early Molotovs, another thing he did not do last game. He went Field Infirmary first. This time he went Molotovs first, getting Field Infirmary now after his 4th squad of conscripts. And he was able to utilize those to turn the engagement, so definitely a good decision. And he's harassing Luvnest's cutoff here. Not looking good for Luvnest. Definitely not.
We have now installed a field hospital at headquarters.
Also, Sib, am I doing both the semifinals? I would, but unfortunately, I don't know where Quentin went. He, like, disappeared, and I think if he doesn't show up, like, right now, that he's going to be disqualified, which would be a real shame, because I was looking forward to that series. So I guess my answer is I don't know.
Your predecessor died a hero! It's done. Forces are neutralizing a sector.
Stern Pioneers moving up to get control of the cutoff back. Volksgrenadiers need to make their way up the right side. Paul laying down some barbed wire here to try and make things a little bit more difficult for Luvnest as he tries to advance.
Good work, comrade.
Conscripts getting pushed away by the Volksgrenadiers here. They are throwing a Molotov, but they're in red cover, taking a lot of damage. No flame crits at all. They take very minor damage walking through those flames. But the squad looks like it will get away. Narrowly. Meanwhile, Luvnest has gone fortifications again and moved an MG-34 up here to the front lines. Volksgrenadiers making their way towards the cutoff, and Luvnest next. SWS half-track has arrived. He hasn't salvaged this one, but overall I would say Paul didn't do anything too scary to Luvnest during the time when he didn't have access to tech. He didn't get himself an M3. He didn't do anything that made Luvnest regret not having access to Panzerschrecks, basically. And now we have a battle group headquarters going up here in pretty defensive location. He's not going to do anything too aggressive. Just playing it safe. And that will, of course, give him access to healing for some of his wounded squads, which will definitely help him out in the long run. Paul's also had access to field infirmary for a while now. As far as map control, Luvnest appears to be in a pretty good situation. He's poised to cut Paul off from the top here, but he needs to send a few squads to protect the south. He's losing control of his one munitions point there. And his fuel will likely be next. And you can really see how destroying that SWS early on just snowballs. It has such a lasting effect because Luvnest now has 91 fuel, but his next truck's not going to arrive now for another 2 minutes, which means he can't build his tier 4, which further delays his Obersoldaten, and it's a compounding effect that lasts the entire game. Just the loss of your truck there very early on is so crucial.
Incoming fire! Target secure. We can now erect heavy field fortifications.
Fuel being harassed here in the south. Dodges the Molotov, repositioning with some green cover to engage at long range. Meanwhile, here in the center, lots of troops making their way to engage. A Maxim takes up a position in the house, which is going to very much endanger this infantry. Conscripts will flush those Volksgrenadiers out. Paul's taking control of the entire map here. The barbed wire is doing its job, making this a very awkward retreat path, and he can't advance through it all that easily either. Meanwhile, Volksgrenadiers continue to move up and harass through this direction and may be able to decapture this fuel, but they have kind of a dangerous retreat path as a result. Meanwhile, massed Volksgrenadiers here putting pressure on the conscripts in the fuel point, but it looks like they're gonna get chased off by the advancing conscripts here. Molotov being thrown, maybe, no? That squad retreated a little prematurely, I think. Sturm Pioneers and green cover should be able to do significant damage to that conscript squad. Molotov flushes them from cover. They close the gap and the conscript squad is forced to retreat. Meanwhile, these Volksgrenadiers are not in cover right now, I don't think. Whereas the conscripts are, so Luvnest is kind of losing this engagement and rapidly losing control of the map. He has nice harassment here of Paul's fuel, but his own fuel is actually connected to Paul's base, so this is accomplishing very little, and he needs to get the map back under his control. He just can't seem to keep Paul's aggression here at bay. He's finally pushed everything back. But the Maxim got a burst off on those Sturms and suppressed them. Then they take a huge flame crit from that Molotov. So the stalling on this fuel point is so long. Luvnest just can't get it back. Another nice Molotov up here. Looks like it got a couple crits. I kind of missed it. So that even that very heavily wounded conscript squad was able to push away those Volksgrenadiers and get control of the north fuel back. Luvnest has healed and reinforced some squads, is making his way back towards the south. He needs to get the fuel and munitions back under his control. These two squads are healing and reinforcing here as well. As far as fuel, Luvnest is up to 125 and his next SWS has arrived and he's setting his tier 4 up on his cutoff and fuel. Hopefully that will protect it from further harassment. Paul has purchased himself tier 2 and 3. No field gun, he's actually making himself a mortar. So I guess we may not see guard motor coordination this game, which is what we saw last game. He's going straight into tier 3, probably going to grab himself a T-70 or T-34, and from there he'll be poised. Oh.
Mortar team reports ready for combat.
Okay, I don't know. Maybe he does want to go guard motor.
Shock troops can now be used to crush the enemy.
Nope, he doesn't. He wants to go shock rifle. He canceled tier 3. He's going to save all of his fuel for Collins.
The enemy has taken our supply sector.
MG-34 catches this blob of infantry as they're trying to crawl around.
Shock troops have arrived. We're as ready as we can be. The enemy has cut off a sector. Under attack! Engineers, on me! Get up there! Ambush camouflage now available.
Folks Grenadiers will retreat from that flamethrower there, and meanwhile the mortar is bombarding various infantry positions, and shock troops have been fielded to try to help deal with all of Luvnest's infantry. Sturm Pioneers will have to make a hasty retreat, and Luvnest still hasn't gotten rid of this barbed wire, which makes this, they're always going to retreat across this red cover, which is pretty scary. And Luvnest has gone with the nukes again this game, which I think is a pretty good decision against shock rifle, because holding out for Collins with the nukes on the field is very difficult. That can punish you so hard, and it's so effective against shock troops as well. So I'm curious to see what Paul's response to that is going to be. He seems to want to swarm it with AT grenades, but that against a well-microed nukes can only get you so far.
Grenadiers back to full strength.
Da, tovarish.
Supply sector under attack.
We are taking losses. Take cover!
Anti-tank gun is ready for action.
That squad took a lot of damage on the approach there, but it does force that MG to at least reposition. Lux continues to circle around over here. Folks Grenadiers taking control of all the territory, and Paul is rapidly finding himself in the same situation he was in last game. He's feeling very contained. And a squad of Obersoldaten has just hit the field. Molotov goes out and forces the retreat. MG-34 firing on those shock troops, and they somehow get away with no losses, although they're all practically dead. Lots of squads moving up here on the right side. Paul getting a little territory under control down here on the left, but the nukes has moved to counter. Shock troops obviously have no solution for that. The conscripts are a little far away. They will decapture that munitions before being forced to retreat. Meanwhile, up here, Sturm Pioneers engaging those conscripts, take two of them out before forcing a retreat in turn. These two conscript squads inflicting pretty heavy damage over there on those Sturm Pioneers. They're trying to get to cover, but it's a little bit too late. They're probably just going to be forced to retreat, although these wow, two of them just got flame critted by the remains of that Molotov. He's probably hoping that he wasn't going to sustain any crits, but he did. Don't lose that squad, wow! That was close. That was quite the Molotov. Sturm Pioneers need to reunite with this Lux to get that thing repaired back to full. I'm not sure Paul is watching this engagement. It's certainly not going very well for him. Grenade going out? No! Oh. Squad down. I think that might be the first squad wipe of the game. I haven't seen any others. Pretty sure. field gun has been deployed to try to help deal with the nukes. I don't know if there are any mines anywhere. He really needs to damage its engine if he wants to take it out. But he's struggling to do so. Can't seem to get any conscripts in range for an AT grenade. Meanwhile, harassment attempts in the south by both sides. Looks like shock troops are going to come out ahead on that one. More Volksgrenadiers just sort of standing in cover there. And Luvnest is up to 115 fuel. Obviously, the Lux delays the Panther. It looks like this game is even enough that Paul's going to make it to his call-in tanks. And once that happens, it's going to become a whole different game. But he still has 3 command points to go before he has access to that IS-2. So Luvnest still has lots of room to work with. And I can definitely see that he's capitalizing on the fact that he has a Lux and his opponent has no proper counter. But, not enough of a lead to end the game. Hopefully the resource and victory point advantage that he's garnering himself now will be sufficient to take on the IS-2s once they arrive. Uh-oh, uh-oh, don't chase too aggressively, no! Oh, so close. He really wanted to finish off that retreating squad, and his Lux gets taken out, and that's the one like main advantage thing he has before his opponent's call-ins arrive. Losing that is a big mistake. I mean, we can already see how his map control is immediately waning. He would, if his Lux were still alive, he'd be able to go counter that. He would have a tool to deal with all this in the south, or a tool to go deal with everything happening in the north. The fact that he let that die just because he wanted to chase down a wounded conscript squad is a painful loss, and he's left with not that much AT to deal with the KV-8. I mean, he does have 3 Panzer Strikes, and I mean, okay, he's got 3 Panzer Strikes and Rocket Mortars, so that's a decent amount, but the KV-8 is just really scary, and the mine is just slightly off target, just a little closer to that road. That's got to be painful for Luvnest. It's so close, and it's gonna just burst down everything. Forcing retreats from infantry, forcing retreats from the Raketenwerfer. The Raketenwerfer's one shot and bounced. KV-8 still in pretty good condition. And now the field gun is moving up to fire on his tier 4, and this game is turning around fast. It really is. He needs to move something over there to screen away this flamethrower tank. And Paul has taken control of the entire map. Look what happens. Just because his Lux died, it's snowballing out of control so quickly. Look how things have turned around. This is going to go down so quick. It stands no chance. Oh man, it just won't hit that mine. It just won't hit it. And that is long gone. It's going to get away absolutely clean. Luvnest is in a terrible situation now. He knows an IS-2 is on the way. He doesn't have tier 4, so he can't make a Panther. And he's completely lost the entire map.
We've taken the territory.
He's fielding a Jagd Panzer now, which pretty much seems to be the go-to unit for OKW when things go south. So far in the tournament, we have not seen that work a single time. Maybe Luvnest can make it so. Here's hoping.
Territory is falling into enemy hands.
We are taking losses! Enemy contact!
Engineer standing by.
More incendiary artillery putting pressure on Luvnest over here. It's simply repositioned, takes very minor losses. Maxim in the building seems to be doing pretty much fine. The church is still in very good
The
condition,
enemy has 300 points remaining.
keeping Luvnest delayed as he attempts to make his way across the south.
They've opened up on us!
We are ready to go, comrades!
The powers that be have granted us IS-2 heavy tanks. Enemy forces are Capturing
Yak
our
Panzer
supplies.
circling towards the south, and the mortar bombarding these obers is
Incendiary artillery
doing quite a bit of
barrage ready
damage.
to
They're going to
fire.
need to reposition. MG-34 catches shock troops making their way towards the south, and they'll be forced to retreat, maybe. Conscripts on the flank. And the KV-8 is moving up as well. The Jagdpanzer is available to support here. Not entirely sure what's going to happen. Stern Pioneers here for repairs as well, and it looks like Paul will have to completely disengage. Raketenwerfer, tons of Panzerschrecks, that KV-8 stands no chance. Conscripts charging in on that KV-8. The field gun, some repairs making their way over here. It's getting to be a pretty heated engagement in this area. Jagdpanzer gets a little bit close to that field gun. But the KV-8's taking heavy damage. Field gun shot bounces. Jagdpanzer shot also bounces, and they will disengage. Maxim is preventing these Volksgrenadiers from advancing up the right flank. And the Jagdpanzer has pulled back completely for repairs. And the Maxim has taken too much damage and must retreat. Meanwhile, the Vet 2 MG-34 is going to go harass the North Victory Point completely
Enemy forces are attempting
uncontested.
to capture our territory.
As Paul musters all of his forces in the center and south to try and get that victory point out of his total control. His IS-2 has hit the field and will start laying fire on the church. The Jagdpanzer has made its way towards the center with Raketenwerfer support, and there's just Panzerschrecks everywhere. Obersoldaten and MG-34 making their way up as well. Luvnest is trying to slowly get this game back under his control, but it's a pretty tough fight for victory points. Jagdpanzer takes a huge hit from the IS-2 right there, and unfortunately the field gun is not available to support in this engagement. Obersoldaten moving up to the front to try and decrew that field gun. Jagdpanzer taking long shots at that KV-8, and it's inflicting a lot of damage. It's doing great work. Getting a little exposed though, that field gun is a problem. Fortunately the shot bounces. KV-8 trying to circle around to take a different angle and gets a nice flame burst on those Obersoldaten. Two of them go down immediately. Volksgrenadiers in the church get a nice hit. Jagdpanzer shot bounces, or Raketenwerfer shot bounces, I should say. KV-8 has pulled back completely and is awaiting repairs. May go back in to try and take out the church or this machine gun, but he needs to be very careful. Luvnest evacuates the church immediately, not wanting to get flamed out. Oh, and that thing is one hit from death. It needs to be very careful. It is pulling back for repairs now. The IS-2 has almost been completely restored. This squad just retreated so prematurely. They still have almost full health. I don't know what that was about. The IS-2 is going in hard on that Jagdpanzer. And I think that this may be the end of it. I don't know how he's going to get it to safety, and there don't appear to be any mines anywhere that can save it except for this original one, which he did not hit. Jagdpanzer is down. IS-2 and KV-8 have both survived this engagement. No mines hit. If something catastrophic doesn't happen for Paul soon, I think he may take this. He also stole that Raketenwerfer. Okay, that's pretty catastrophic. That's heavy engine damage on that IS-2. If he can work a miracle and destroy that thing somehow, he needs to. This is his chance. This is RNGesus saying, okay, Luvnest, I'm giving you one shot. This is your shot. This is your chance to win this game. If you fuck this up, you lost, so... Let's see what you can do. Let's go. There is a extremely damaged, immobilized IS-2 in the middle of this road. That mine was just sitting there in that road this whole game, waiting for this moment. Really needs to spread his troops out a little bit more. All of his Panzerschreck shots just connected. The KV-8 is moving to try to screen. The Raketenwerfer's been stolen. He doesn't have that anymore. Panzerschrecks are his only tool. He's not even firing at the KV-8. He doesn't even care. He just wants to kill that IS-2, but he just retreated. Full retreat. Oh no, and now that KV-8's gonna chase him into his base, and he just doesn't, he doesn't have a Raketenwerfer. A Jagdpanzer is in progress. If he can get that thing out and do something, maybe, I don't know. I'm not sure what's gonna happen. One of his Volksgrenadier squads just got wiped, bringing him down to only 3 remaining. His MG-34s are kind of screening the infantry. Paul doesn't have that much repairs available to him. He's only got 2 combat engineer squads, and they both had to retreat in the midst of that engagement. Once the Jagdpanzer gets here, things might turn around a little bit. The KV-8's at about half. Luvnest Panzerschrecks are making their way back to the front lines. Obersoldaten circling around towards the south to maybe get some victory points under control, which he really needs to focus on now. He's only got 100 remaining, and he's triple capped. Volksgrenadier blob making its way back up the center. I don't know what's going to happen here. That KV-8 is too wounded to continue screening. There's only 1 Maxim here to protect. The IS-2 is still heavily damaged, and the Jagdpanzer is just completed and is making its way to the middle of the map. But if these Obersoldaten don't get to a victory point soon, he's going to run out of time. He really can't afford to try and take any fuel points back right now. He needs to prioritize here. Soviet Raketenwerfer in the church goes down as the building collapses. KV-8 wants to stop the blob, but it takes all 3 Panzerschreck shots. What just happened there, though? Wow! That IS-2 hit was huge, and 2 squads are wiped immediately. The Jagdpanzer is firing at range, but all shots are missing and bouncing. That IS-2 hit right there was so painful. And I don't think that Luvnest has time to turn this around. But he is taking control of the victory point there in the north to try to buy time, to try to accomplish something.
The enemy has 75 points remaining. You appear suited for command. Incendiary artillery.
And that's it. Playback is over. Luvnest has surrendered, and Paul will advance to the finals, where he will go up against Jezelin, I think.